Well, hello, welcome back. And I hope y'all enjoyed the room tour video. That was just a little rush job. I'm going to try to make another one when we actually get the whole thing finished and I've got the curtains up and I've got the exactly the way I want it. I'll give you another little tour of the room. We won't have to go over the equipment so much next time. It'll just be more of what's going on in the room. And thanks for watching that room tour video too. So first up here, we've got the Guess Who. Now this was a suggestion by Richard Riley. Ron, what about the Guess Who records? So I used to have a lot more of these Guess Who records than I have currently, because really, if you've got this best of the Guess Who record right here, you've got all these great songs, the ones that I want to listen to all the time. Because to tell you the truth, a lot of these Guess Who records, they didn't have like American Woman and Canadian Wheat and all these other records. I've had all the Guess Who records, and it just seems to be, now this one was reissued by Friday Music, and it's got really good sound on it. So when I'm going to listen to a Guess Who record all the time, I was just pulling this one out and listening to it. And so I've gotten rid of some of those other records where maybe they just had one song or two songs that I liked, and it was on this record anyway. So here we go. This is the best of the Guess Who, as I said, and this is a really rare record, a Japan first edition. Next up is Share the Land. I've got this one, and most of the songs I like on this one too as well. They're on the best of the record. And this is So Long Bannatyne. Now this one, this is, I got a little story about this record, because I used to know a girl that lived in this apartment right here. I guess Burton Cummings is this fella right here. And on the inside of the gatefold, it's a nice gatefold record. Here's the inside. And the front cover. And it says So Long Bannatyne. And this record's from '71. So I guess back in the day, Burton was living in this block right here, downtown on Bannatyne Avenue. That's right downtown Winnipeg. And then on the back cover it says, "Hello, my Chevrolet home." So he bought himself, he was making a little bit of money, so he went out in the suburbs out there in St. Vital and he bought himself a house. But he still got his old '57 Chevy out here. So the interesting thing, run through a couple things for folks that maybe live in the South and don't know what's with all these plugs hanging out of the front of the car. Well, you notice they've got two wires hanging out of there. One of those wires is to plug your engine in. It's got a little heater inside the block. It keeps the block warm, because when it's 30 below outside, all that oil, all that stuff gets so thick the engine hardly won't even turn over, and then it'll just kill your battery right away, and you won't be able to start your car. And it's really hard on the engine too to have all that stuff that cold. So you plug your car in, it keeps the block warm, and then of course when you start it starts up easy. And then you got another little cord hanging out there. That's for what you call an interior car warmer. It's a little heater that's in the car. It doesn't blow real hot, but it's hot enough. When it's 30 below, it'll keep the interior, it'll keep the seat from freezing solid. It'll keep all the inside of the car from freezing solid. It usually keeps the frost and everything off the windshield. So that is a really nice thing to have too if you're living if I'm in Canada. Now here's the inner sleeve, and there's a picture of the boys. Burton sitting on top of the car, and Randy Bachman, Bachman Turner Overdrive. Here's Fred Turner. That's the Turner of Bachman Turner Overdrive. They're formerly of the Guess Who. And so they're sitting in front, and there's the front door to go into the block. And I've got a little story I wanted to share to y'all, because my friend Gwen, she used to live in that apartment down there. And I was there at a party one time, and there must have been 15 people down in that apartment. And I knew a lot of the folks, but there was a few I didn't know in there. And there was more than a few I didn't know in there. Actually, to tell you the truth, I only knew a few people. I didn't know a lot of them. So I used to smoke what was called drum cigarette tobacco, and this was made in Holland. It was Dutch tobacco, and it was imported. You could get it in a tin, or you could get it in a pouch. It didn't come like a regular cigarette in a pack where it was already made up. You had to roll them yourself. And so, before I had gone to the party, I had rolled me a couple of those cigarettes and stuck them in my pocket. And when we got to the party, you know, we're sitting around and having a drink with this and that and the other, and talking and listening to some music. And I decided I'm going to have a smoke. I pull my cigarette out and light it up, having a puff on it. The guy next to me I didn't know. The guy over here, I knew him. He was my buddy. But the fella on the other side, I didn't know him. I'm smoking it, and he goes, "Hey, aren't you going to share that?" I'm like, "Sure." I gave it to him. He's like, "He's smoking that thing." It went all the way around the whole room. Hit my buddy on the elbow. I said, "Hey, check that up." He says, "Yeah, that's my cigarette." "You really?" "Yeah." And everybody's having a toke on that drum tobacco. Because it didn't taste like regular cigarettes. It didn't. That's why I smoked it. I liked it. It was different. And they went all the way around the room and gave it to my buddy, and I finished it. And I think I gave it to the guy again, and whatever. That's real comical. All these people, they have no clue what's going on. But anyway, that's the little story about this record. Next, okay, put this up. Next up, I'm going to try to run through these a little bit quicker. I don't have stories about all these records. This is Daddy Longlegs. It's called Shifting Sands. And this is from 1969. This is an original German pressing. And now Daddy Longlegs also came out on the Swirl. I think about 1971. They had a record, came out on the Swirl label. And I had that one as well. And I really didn't like the Swirl record. But this one I really do like. Shifting Sands by Daddy Longlegs. That's a good record right there. Now, Niels Lofgren, Cry Tough. Maybe you folks have heard of Niels Lofgren, maybe you haven't. But this record right here is phenomenal. Of course, I've had a lot of Niels Lofgren records. This is the one that I've kept. If I'm listening to Niels Lofgren, this is the one I'm going to listen to. And that Cry Tough, that is a great song. And of course, there's a lot of other ones on here. But Cry Tough, go on YouTube, listen to Niels Lofgren, Cry Tough. And I've got it on this Japanese first edition right here. And it sounds phenomenal. And this is from about 1975, I think. Let's have a look at the label, see what kind of label it's on. Yeah, it's A&M Records. And you know, back in the early days, when that's Herb Alpert, you know, that he owns A&M Records, and I always thought that A&M Records was one of those labels always had great sound on it, and you know why? Bernie Grunman was the mastering engineer in the early days for Herb Alpert and doing all his stuff. That's interesting. Egg. 7 is a Jolly Good Time. And this is a reissue. This is a 1969 record here. And this is a reissue. Good band, Egg. I like that record. Okay, Eno. This is my favorite Eno record. Here Comes the Warm Jets. Now, if you're familiar with maybe some of the other Eno records, and not this one, yeah, Baby's on Fire. Check that out. That is a great. That's why I love this record here. Baby's on Fire. There's a bunch of really good ones on here. Cindy Tells Me. Yeah, you know, I bought some of those other Eno records, and I don't know what all the fuss is about. I think this is great. The other ones, I don't think they are. But a lot of people, you know, swear by them. They think they're the best ever. You know, this Taking Tiger Mountain, had that one. I didn't really get into that one. All right, now David Essex, Rock On. If you don't know what that record is right here, this is from 1973. Rock On. Really great song, and this is an original. I bought this. I went on a trip. It was '92, I think. I went to California. My sister lives in California. Went to visit her, and you know, '92. That's before eBay and all that stuff. Of course, I had to go down. I went down to Rockaway Records in Los Angeles. I bought this record. It's an original, very, very nice condition. And now we have Shimira, Duncan McKay, and if you look on the top corner, it's got the vertical swirl emblem up there. This is a South African press. This record right here, and it was originally issued on the vertical swirl in South Africa. And this record is phenomenal. This guy here almost puts Keith Emerson to shame. This guy here really can play the keyboards. It sounds like Emerson, Lake and Palmer. This record right here is really good. Lots of keyboards on it. Fantastic. Now, Fantasy Factory, Ode to Life. This is a 1995 Psych record. This is a UK import. This is a Psych record from 1995. Yep, great. I love it. Next up, Papa Boola. This is some of that progressive music, and you know, I've had some, you know, I've had a lot of the Asherah Temple records, and a lot of the Almond Dual records. A lot of those Almond Duals and Asherah Temples, and you know, I listen to them a lot. I really, really try to love them. They're okay. There's some good parts to them. But as far as a record on whole that I say, this is a record that I love, I got to own it, I sold all of it. But I do have this Papa Boola because this one, it really grabs me. And I from time to time, it'll put you in a certain kind of mood. This is a record that's good for that. And this one here, I like that record. Okay, everybody loves the New York Dolls. These are from '73, I think, and this is of course, a first edition Japanese press New York Dolls record. Then I've got a couple of these Al Stewart records that are on the MoFis, the original MoFis from back in the day. This is like from '75, I think. And if you are not familiar with the older MoFis, this nice thick cover here, nice thick gatefold cover, and they do have this one does have, here's the inside of it. Now they did have the little protector on there, an Audiophil's dream come true, mobile fidelity, and this one's on a picture. But you know, this doesn't have a lot of advertising like they do now. It's just talking about what that half-speed mastering is doing. And this is from 1979 that they printed that. And of course, it's got this more than just a record. It's a stereo component. Record's more than something. It's just a stereo component. And then they have a listing of all the records that they have out at the time. And they're striving towards a perfect pressing. Okay, defects may occur, so they want to know if there's anything wrong with your record. Let them know what's going on. So that's Year of the Cat, and that's what they look like. And these records were pressed in Japan. Okay, and then '78, I think. Time Passages, another good record. I like both of them. And the sound is really good on those records. I really do like the sound on it. Nirvana, Unplugged in New York. This is a Simply Vinyl edition of this record. And you know, Simply Vinyl has these huge, thick outer sleeves that they come in. You don't have to buy anything for it when you get a Simply Vinyl. This really, really thick outer sleeve on these things. Nirvana, Bleach. Now, the story about this record is I used to have this. I went down to Minneapolis and I bought this brand new. It was on a blue vinyl. And they made, I think they made 1,000 on the white 5,000 blue, 5,000 pink, and 5,000, I think, green or something. And that's all they made of the record. And so I sold that blue one I had, and I got $175 or something for it. And that was back in about 90, let's say around 2000 or so, maybe 2001 or 2, I sold that record. And I had told one of my friends at work I sold that record for $175 or whatever. And he was going on telling, Bob, you sold a record, it's $170. He was telling everybody, I sold this record to a guy in England. And so I bought this as a reissue back to vinyl, and it's on white vinyl. And it comes with a poster and everything inside the record. And so I've got this one, and this is the one I replaced it with. So this one might even be more rare than the other one. Now, never mind. Again, I used to have an original press of this, and it had a sticker up on here, $12.95. I bought it in Jacksonville, Florida, by the record store. Bought it new, and I listened to that record quite a bit. But again, I started looking on eBay about, what are all these records worth? And I said, the record is okay. It's got good sound on it, but I don't need it that bad. I sold it. I think I got $150 for that record. And so I was at the Exponia show in Jacksonville, and they had this record. And this is the ORG press. It's on blue vinyl. And now if you look for this blue vinyl ORG press of this record, this is probably worth more than the original one is now. So just because it's an original press, that's another thing that I can talk about these. People are always, the original is better. The original is so much better. Well, Bernie Grumman does a lot of remastering. And he said right to the camera, he told him, he said, no, a lot of those original issues, the technology today is so much better. We can take that tape and we can make a much better sounding record. So all these folks that want to say, oh no, you got to have the original press, that's the one that sounds the best. A lot of times that's true. If it hasn't been reissued by Bernie Grumman or Kevin Gray or someone, yeah, it's true. But when they get that master tape and they reissue it, Analog Productions or Steve Hoffman or Kevin Gray, Bernie Grumman, they get a hold of it, they can make a lot better sounding record. And that's exactly what he said. Of course, what's he going to say? Cowboy Junkies. This is probably a pretty rare record. It's from '92, I think. And I bought '92. Yeah, I bought it in Atlanta, and it's a German import on the RCA label. It's a black RCA label. Pretty neat. And that's made in Germany, and a very thin record, but it does have good sound on it. I do like the sound. It's obviously going to be from that year. It's going to be a digital record, but what's your other choice? If you want to listen to it, that's what you got. You got it, and it does sound really nice on the stereo. It's one of those records that I don't really know it's a digital. It sounds good. And so we've got the Trinity Sessions. This is a Canadian first edition. This has been reissued by MoFi and Analog Productions. Classic Records issued it. And I have never bought one of the reissues, but it's one of those things that's kind of on the list, on the back burner of records to get. But I do have the Canadian first edition of this record. Let's have a look at the label for all you Cowboy Junkies out there. It's just on the black RCA label. Canadian first edition, first press. And I think I actually bought this used at the record store I used to go to. So it's like brand new. I paid $5 for it, kind of thing. Back in the day, that's what a record was worth, used in mint condition, domestic pressing. And then I've got this, White Off Earth Now, Cowboy Junkies. And that is another great record. And that will conclude the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. And hurry back. We're coming back with some more videos.